Good evening. I'm Babsie, your host, and welcome to G Sport Live. We have an exciting show for you tonight as we build up to our athlete newsletter issue that will be coming out this Wednesday. Off of the heels of Netball South Africa awarding for the very first time 24 players professional contracts, we will talk about going pro and how you can make a success of it. We are going to be building up to this over the next week, starting off tonight as Kass Naidoo speaks to the netball legend Zanele Mdodana, and she gives words of encouragement on the players that have been contracted these professional contracts, as well as those who have just missed out. But first, let's catch up with Celine Abrahams on what has been going on in the G Sport newsroom.
Hello everyone and happy Monday to you all. I'm Celine Abrahams, G Sports Content Lead, and it's always a pleasure to be with you on this Monday evening as I give you some highlights on what is happening on the G Sport newsroom. So over the past week, we have seen our South African women in sport really dominate the field at the African Championships in Mauritius, where we saw our young stars really shine on their track and field with medal-winning performances. Congratulations to Zanele Mdodana as well as Miranda Kutwania for winning double gold at the African Championships. Please do go to gsport.co.za to check out who else made it onto Team South Africa's medal winning list. Another highlight was seeing the Momentum Proteas continue with their winning performances when they took on Ireland in their first ODI. On Saturday, we saw the South Africans win by 9 wickets, something they will be looking forward to building on when they take on the Irish side tomorrow at 11:45 South African time. Before we wrap up from the G Sport newsroom side, a massive congratulations to Border ladies who defended their Women's Premier Division title this past weekend. Congratulations on your massive achievements. So looking forward to this week's G Sport newsletter. We are bringing you the Athlete Edition, where we are looking forward to shining the spotlight on our rising stars. Please do check out the link to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our exclusive interviews. Thank you so much.
The G Sport newsroom is always working hard to make sure that we bring you the latest stories in women's sport. Now, Youth Day is around the corner. We, as the G Sport team, celebrated Youth Month with a bang on the first day when we had our very first WhatsApp communications group meeting, where women from sport gathered together to network and to discuss ways on how we can close the visibility gap. I have Sinetema Mbata, who tells us the importance of having these type of events more regularly.
Hi guys, I am Zanele Mdodana and we are at the G Sports LCG or it's just a meetup for women. Men usually go to golf courses in order for them to play golf and close up business deals and stuff. We are here just to vent out as women in sport, and network and connect with other women in sport with regard to challenges that we go through and how we can help each other. And it's just an amazing meetup. And many of us have gotten our breakthroughs through the G Sport platform. I hosted the 2020 G Sport Awards red carpet, and from there you just keep growing and growing, and that's the purpose of G Sport, to hold the hands of all the other ladies still coming up in sport. And I feel like Kass has paved the way, and it's up to us now to just keep on bringing young women up and holding each other's hands, because it's a rock industry and we need each other, and platforms like this are for that. But you know what? You are not alone. What are you going through? What are you dealing with? How can we assist? How can we get you into the space? And man, it's just an amazing platform. And remember that you can subscribe to the G Sport newsletter, so you can receive newsletter every Wednesday. Does it come out every Wednesday? Yes. And then you can just get all your sport news with women making headlines across the world, and of course here at home. We continue to raise the profile of women in sport here at G Sport, and make sure that you join us, like retweet, support women in sport, retweet their work, subscribe to their YouTube channels, and ask questions. Like, you want to know what is happening with women in sport, ask questions, inbox G Sport. I promise you will always get a response. But yeah, man, let's have fun, let's eat, and
I share Sinetemba's sentiments through and through. It is so important to have such events where we as women can understand each other and how we can navigate the sporting world, as well as closing that visibility gap for our sporting ladies. Talking about our sporting ladies, the past couple of weeks, I have been covering the Telkom Netball League, which has been exciting, and just seeing that competitiveness that comes through with the players and just shining that spotlight on the sport. Catch us as we cover the final power week of the TNL between the 15th and the 20th of June on all our social media networks. Now, let's go into what we came in for tonight. We have our big interview. Kass Naidoo will be talking to the legendary netball player Zanele Mdodana. Now,
Netball South Africa recently awarded historic first ever professional contracts to 24 of the leading players in the country. It's taken the game into a brand new era, and no doubt a major victory for the current generation and the rising stars. Importantly, it's a victory for those who paved the way, the legends of the game. And tonight's interview features one of the legends of the game. Zanele Mdodana, the former Spar Proteas captain, a former Momentum G Sport Awards winner, and the Marty's netball head coach. She's on the big interview. I can't believe I tracked you down, because you are always with your girls. And here you are finally about to talk about your journey with me. This is a special moment for me.
Kass, thank you so much. Thank you for thinking of me, when these big news came out, the massive announcement. I'm actually just getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Historic moment, and such a massive change where netball's concerned. And we know that netball is the biggest women's sport in our country, and as somebody who's played it, I'm glad that I'm still alive to see our players getting contracted and becoming professional, doing what they love.
Let's rewind right to the beginning. When you got into the national team, I mean, let's be honest, it was at a time when women's sport was almost like, let them play, not let them play and let's support them. It was more let them play. What was it like when you got underway? What was the environment like, the support like?
So I got into the national team in 2005. And it was right after I just came back from the Under-21 World Cup in Miami. And as you rightfully say, it was at that time let the woman play, and for me, it was such a massive achievement because as a young girl, I remember I was 19 and rather I was 18 and I saw Martha Moswache at the velodrome wearing her national blazer, and I was still playing for Eastern Province at the time, under 19. And she walked into the velodrome and she was walking so tall, wearing this, green and gold with a Protea badge on the chest. And I said, one day I want to be that girl. And 2005, I got that opportunity to represent my country, to wear the green and gold, and to play the sport that I love. And that's what we did. We did it for the love of the game, and that's what it was for us at that time. And it came with a lot of sacrifices because also I was a university student, missed a lot of class assignments, exams, but had lecturers that were really quite supportive and understood that the course that I was studying sort of supported the fact that, I could be allowed to go away and represent my country. But then as I started working, it became a little bit more difficult because then I had to start taking leave. And then when my leave ran out, I had to start taking unpaid leave. So those are some of the sacrifices, we made, and I made because I love the sport and I love the game of netball.
It's so easy now, as I often think, to celebrate the good news and go, oh, this is such a great time for these girls. And here they are about to earn salaries. Yet, are they aware of the struggles that took place previously? And what kind of connection are they able to make? Because this kind of information is so important.
Yeah, I don't think they can. So I'm fortunate to coach with Adele Niemand, who's also a legend of the game, and we were talking about this with our players at Marties when we heard this announcement. And we've got 2 players in that national squad of the contracted 24 players that I'm coaching at Marties that are in that squad. And Adele and I were chatting about the days where we used to go to camp and I would put my initials on my shorts, for example, ZM. And then let's say the next training camp, I'm either not invited or I didn't make it. And then someone else would get to wear those shorts and then they'll scratch my initials and put their initials on. And then if I ever came back into the squad, I'll go and dig up my shorts because I know I wrote my name or my initials here in this corner somewhere, and we were making fun of those things. We can laugh about it now, but at that time it was, why do I have to share the shorts with you? Why can't I have my own shorts and take them home and bring them back to camp and all those kind of things? And our players don't really understand, how challenging it was in our time. And now, for example, I said to Nikki and Nicola, I said, listen, can I get at least a percentage of your earnings, for my investment in you? And they laugh and they say, Coach, yes, but by the time the money's in my account and I've done my monthly, duties, I'm left with nothing actually. So it's still actually, according to them, it's not even enough. So I'm like, listen, be thankful that you're getting something
and now they've got this base. Exactly. And now that they've got this base and you're sitting with an opportunity of a pro contract, what would you say to them is one of the first things they should think about?
Investing 100%. Listen, Kass, there's nothing more sad than to play a professional sport, earn money, and then you just go on this spending spree, just thinking about the now. And it's you want the cars, you want the clothing, you want this and you want this, and you're not thinking that, an injury can happen and you haven't put anything aside. And for me, it's like sport, it's not long term. So the time that you're there, you've got to make sure that you are putting as much aside as you possibly can. And I mean, I've spoken to coaches already that have players that are contracted, that are playing for them, and they're saying what's so important is that there needs to be people who are introduced to these players and taught how to manage their finances, financial management, because they're so excited at the moment with getting that 5,000 Rand in my bank account every month. And it's all about spending and it's this and it's that, and they're not really thinking that it's not a permanent situation and it can end any moment. An injury will stop that immediately. So important to think about long term, think about how you can invest, how you can save, and obviously, your make sure that your life is better than what it was, because you're getting a little bit extra.
And I think also this is when the game of sponsorship becomes interesting for them, because now you don't want sponsors because you need money. You want sponsors because you want to build on your pro contract. Big brands often looked at you. I mean, whether you were on the court and even after you retired, brands are still looking at you. What has kept you the Madonna of sport? What has kept you reinventing yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I think what's kept me is that I love who I am, and I love what I do, and I know that I'm older now, so they will always look at maybe the younger and the more vibey, what's the latest, what's the newest thing, but I come with so much experience and I come with so much wisdom, and I think that it's important to always stay on top of my game. I'm in the coaching space now, and one of the things that I've always said to myself is, if I'm coaching a high performance team, for example, I've got to make sure that my weight and my body is at least representing that, so that my players can also have a sense of respect for me. Because sometimes they challenge me and say, Coach, don't tell us what we must do, show us what we must do. So if I'm not in the right physical condition, I'm going to definitely struggle to do that, So what kept me going is the fact that I know the space that I'm in requires me to always reinvent myself, to be better, to look for ways to do things differently, and I'm learning that a lot now, especially now that we're getting to this competition I just spoke to you about, that we can't come out the same way we came out last year, because they've got stats and analysis on us, so you've always got to change it up and always keep surprising them and being different all the time.
And the competition you're talking about are the youth champs, and these are the young players, many of whom will be looking at those 24 players thinking, one day I want to get there. What is your advice for those that are probably have been knocking on the door for a long time, may have just missed out, because you know what it's like when there's a limited number, you're always going to get unhappy people. San, how do we deal with disappointment and bounce back?
Listen, I looked at that 24, and obviously I've also got my own opinion, because I am a netball person. So there's a couple of names that didn't appear there that I thought I would have put in that list, right? And I've spoken to players that didn't make it, that are not there, and I tell them that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And you've got to keep on pressing forward. You cannot throw in the white towel now. A player can sense when they are close, right? And when they think, I should have made it, and you don't make it. I mean, I also share my experience of how many times I've traveled, been picked in the national team, and I'll travel with the team with a talkback tracksuit and never set foot on court. Or times when I wasn't picked, and because I was so determined to wear the green and gold, to be on that court and play, I refused to allow someone else's opinion of me to become my reality. And I just simply said, I'm never going to stop until I get this. So I was fully persuaded that this is where I want to be. And that's the kind of advice I give to people who don't maybe cross that finish line. It's like, don't stop, keep going. It's going to happen. You've got to be so persistent and so relentless, in your pursuit for this thing that you want. So yeah, and it's great that we've got the 24, but there's many more that are worthy and also deserving, and you've got to know that about yourself as a player, and that's going to be the one thing that's going to encourage you to keep going.
I introduced you earlier, and I failed to even mention you as a commentator, because for me that was one of the best roles for you. You used your voice so well, so powerfully. What is the one thing you still want to achieve? Netball World Cup is coming up in 2023, and as we wrap up the interview, what is the one thing you could wave your magic wand and make happen in your life and your career?
Oh my goodness. Whew. There's quite a few things, but definitely the legacy of excellence at the University of Stellenbosch. Just making sure that we achieve what the netball at Stellenbosch University has never achieved, and we are very much well on our way there. So that whenever I walk away from the university, I will be remembered for the contribution, and just taking it from where it was and leaving it in a better space. But another thing is, the World Cup is coming up next year, right here at my doorstep, like literally in my backyard in Cape Town, and commentary and being an analyst, that's something very dear to my heart, and it's definitely an area I want to be involved in, and I'm going to be involved in. I'm putting it out there already, just to talk and just experience, on another, like sitting in another seat, if I can put it that way. I've played a World Cup and I know what it feels like to be a player. But I mean, to call those games where the best players in the world and the Proteas are going to be competing is going to be, it's like a huge one for me.
I absolutely cannot wait. The legendary Zanele Mdodana with fantastic advice, not just for pro players, but those who aspire to become the best in the game. Zan, always a pleasure chatting to you, and we can't wait for 2023 Netball World Cup. You're one of the faces of netball in this country.
Thank you so much, Kass. Thanks for having me, and thank you for always supporting me and backing me and constantly reminding me who I am. I appreciate you a lot.
Wise words from the netball legend herself, Zanele Mdodana. That is the importance of having athletes going pro, so they are able to focus on and harness their talent to make sure that they can give the best that they can and push through that persistence and consistency. That was a beautiful interview by Zanele. Twitter Spaces is such a big hit with this women's sport fans on Twitter. Join Celine this Thursday as we have another edition of Twitter Spaces. Let us give you a recap of what happened when I spoke to Zanele Mdodana as she gives advice to those who are aspiring momentum Proteas. How do you think we can improve the grassroots level of cricket to make sure that young girls aspiring momentum Proteas are given the opportunity to rise and go through those different processes to become a momentum Protea?
Okay, I'm just going to backtrack the question. I think the one thing we can do to the kids coming up is just get time. When they have these, I know, like, sometimes I get Facebook messages and, just give them time, just give them attention. Literally, us as athletes or seeing us as a momentum like that is believe them. And I mean, us as women's sport, we always just look back. It doesn't hurt to look back and see how the little kids are doing. One, if I just show up, imagine like the fire that goes in his heart, and I said time, also patience. The kid won't get great immediately. I mean, you have to start somewhere, just ripping off those. And, I walk with the coaches around with the hubs and stuff, and I know, like, it's not seed, but also we must be honest with ourselves there. But we might be planting the seed, but we really water it. The one thing is that we also need to understand, as much as I'm playing, I'm also an ambassador for the sport. So my time is telling them to be patient. Like, patience is one so underestimated. Once patient, everything when it kind of feels like moving at space, but isn't. So just from me, we need to literally pay attention to what they say and how we actually say and how they see us when they get on TV, whatever, or off the field. How do they see us?
And that is, think we can improve. And that is a short clip of Zanele Mdodana, a momentum Protea who has been chosen to be part of the team that will represent South Africa at the Commonwealth Games. Time flies when you are having fun. We have reached the end of another edition of G Sport Live. Don't forget to follow us across all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at G Sport for Girls. And also, very important, guys, go and subscribe for our newsletter. Sign up. That's where you get all your latest news of our sporting action of the women in sport. Thank you for joining us. Until next week.